right. Today I'm going to be making a glass heart pendant. This one is for one of my cousins. She wanted orange and gold. So here's the orange, and then here's my gold. Here is just a little bit of like a semi-opaque, semi-transparent white. I like this one because it gives a little bit of depth to the colors. So I'm going to just start with this, and then I'm going to layer these on top of it to give it a little bit of difference in tone, because the thinner and thicker these semi-transparent ones are, the different colors you're going to kind of, how rich the color in the end is going to change. And my other thought for this one is just to make it different than the one that I made for her sister. I made a twisty heart for her sister. So this one, I don't have a name for this. I just kind of came up with it myself. I'm going to use this Marver. I don't know if Marver's the right word. Shaper, glass shaper. And we're going to do a little bit of a layered look instead of less of like a tornado, and more like there'll be like 3 distinct colors. Here we go. So there's no right or wrong to this particular style. I just want some amount of this white clear color. That's probably good enough for what I want. Let's do this. Alright, and then I want to overlap it with a little bit of this orangey yellow. Now, the thicker the rod, the carefuler I have to be when I introduce it to the flame. And the nice thing about the oranges is this probably comes up on what? Oh, wait. Is this not showing? What? Is my camera just frozen? Hey, that looks like it's actually doing something now. Alright. Alright, let's see. I'm going to be a little bit careful with this white now. It's kind of hot, or it's kind of been out of the flame for a little minute, and I don't want to introduce it too quickly. If I do, the thing will break. So knowing that, I'm going to keep my hand back, and I'm going to keep it pointed down and away from me. I also have a little bit of a face shield here, so it's not too bad. But, oh, see, it did crack. But if I have patience and you go slow enough, you can actually avoid that. But it's gonna be okay. So what we want to do now is, if you have a crack like this, is just make sure that you heat the whole thing up, and you want it nice and hot. You want to get rid of anywhere where the glass isn't, I want to call it smooth. If there's any like really sharp edges, that's where it's going to be more likely to break. So if we heat it up till it's nice, soupy all the way through, then it can become one piece again. So there we go. There's that one. What kind of torch am I using? This is a Bravo torch, and I'm not 100% certain, like a maker model. I could probably, there it is. Bethlehem burner, I know it's a Bravo. I actually got this used from a friend, so yeah, it's specific for lamp working. Hi, Charlie. Yeah, me too. I was kind of wondering when I would get around to doing another video. Starting a new job sort of puts a wrench into a lot of things, but excuses, it's time. So, let me... 1 second. There we go. Just realized I accidentally had the chat paused, so if I looked over, I wasn't going to see anything. So that's back to going. So, alright, so back to what I'm doing here is I'm starting with this kind of transparent blue. Let's call it blue, right, white. And I'm putting on this yellowish orange. And I kind of just want to, actually I'm going to turn up the heat a little. I want to leave a pretty good gap between the two of them because I want a bunch of each of the different colors. I want layers. So let's see. You use a oxyhydrogen water torch. Can they be used for glass? You know, I don't honestly know. I wouldn't be surprised if it couldn't be used for glass. I know that, so like this is a oxygen propane. And I've run it off of oxygen and natural gas before. But I know that when like you're first getting into glass, a lot of people's first torches are what they call hothead torches. It's basically a small propane bottle that just has a flame on top, and those work. You're definitely going to get a lot more reactions with your glass. So if you buy glass, you'd want to make sure you read the description, and you'd want to read for the word reducing or a reduction glass, and you'd want to avoid those. Those glass they react in strongly propane heavy environments. Yeah. So like a lot of my glass, like you want it to have a good mix between the oxygen and the propane. And it's actually an effect that like is really nice. If you turn up the propane, but it's really a finishing one. If you do it a little like in the middle of the work, all of the colors kind of turn muddy, and that's not exactly what you want. Like the reducing usually adds a shine or almost like a silver to it. But if it stays reducing for too long, like as you're trying to just work with it, it's no bueno. But that's really cool. So I've never done any silver or gold work before. I do know that you can do something called silver fuming and gold fuming within Glasswork here. I'm trying to remember if so there's two major types of lampworking glasses. There's COE 104 and COE 33. So I'm using 104, which is also known as soft glass. It has more colors, and the colors stay truer to what you see on the rod. Where COE 33 it's actually Pyrex. It can take temperature shocks a little bit easier, but it's got a limited color range. Yeah, so it's called fuming, and like it kind of works where you take like a tiny piece of silver, you pick it up with a little bit of glass, and so I've never done this. You might want to look up like a YouTube video on it, but I know that you waft it through the front of the flame while you're holding the object in the back, and then it just kind of disperses the silver onto the glass on the outside, and they call that fuming. But it leaves a really cool like effect on it. One of my good friends makes glass marbles out of it, and it just kind of looks like a nebula almost on the inside of the marble. It leaves just like tiny little streaks of color, and it's really cool. Yeah, no, it's definitely really neat. And you don't need a lot. You don't need a lot of silver, and you don't need a lot of gold to get it. And you can do it for several pieces. So, I'm doing. So. It's kind of funny how there's 3 different glasses on here, but it really looks like I just have 2. I've got the white and then the red, but there's 2 kinds of orange in the middle of that. So, hi, Bernard. I didn't know that. So, like, the tiny, tiny little bits of gold that you can get out of those, like, tourist places, that's cool. I'm going to turn this flame down. All right. Okay. No, that's all you need then, is get it to work. Especially get it started and find out if you enjoy it. Speaking of just kind of cool things you can do with glass, with CUE 33, so the it's Boro or Pyrex, they're all the same. Synthetic opals are compatible with it. So I actually have done that, and that's really cool. You can encase a synthetic opal. So I've got, like, I think blue and orange opals, which probably have more specific names than that, but that's what I've got. So right now, I'm just kind of melting in this gold, and I'm trying to do it relatively slowly because the gold is kind of sensitive to boiling until it gets to one level. Then I'll encase this, and then I'm going to use this tool down here, little shaper, to give it kind of a cool texture and kind of smear the lines between the 3 different colors. And we'll go into actually shaping the heart. So Bernard, before you got here, I can't read the username anymore, but the other person chit-chatting was asking me about torches, and I'm wondering if... Yes. So yes. Wondering if you know if I'm trying to remember what kind of torch... I can't scroll up in the chat, it's too far away. What kind of torches work for glasswork? I believe that they said it was used for, like, melting gold and silver. There we go, thank you. There you go. Okay, so is it too hot? I know we can look up like the specs of this one and find out how what the melting temperatures of like gold and silver versus the glass are. Because used a lot for welding and brazing platinum. I mean, that's pretty cool. But just so we get a little context, Bernard is actually the person that I got this torch from. So. All right. We're getting close here. So those lines, those gold lines, have kind of distributed outwards a little bit, so like into the glass and gotten a little bit thicker. But they're not sitting on top of the glass anymore, so if I put a layer of clear on top, I am less likely to trap air. And then with the layer of clear on top, I can be much more ham-fisted with this whole operation and not worry about bubbling it. It's graphite. Yeah. Yep. So Bernard, I think you're a little bit confused. Havy has a torch already and does silver work and is wondering if that torch, which I think is like a water-based one. Oh, that's not good. That's not helpful. If it might be too hot for doing glasswork. I'm hoping you might be able to look up the specs on the torch that I have here and just give the temperatures. That's really cool. All right. Yeah, you might be getting too hot then, if it's hotter than acetylene. I'm sure I could look up the melting point of CUE 104 or boro. You might be able to get away with boro because boro has a higher melting temperature anyway. So like right now, my flame actually has it's got 2 rings and 4 settings, 2 oxygen and 2 propane. And so right now I only have the center burner on because I'm just working with CUE 104 and it's easy enough. But when I'm working with boro, I need all of it on. probably. So I don't know what comes on camera or not, but I can tell that right there, right between kind of, there's like a tiny little red line that's brighter red than the red around it. I mean, can I push this down? Okay. And that means that I did not get just that one section covered in clear. So, cover that guy back up. And I'm not worried about trying to make it even. This particular design is meant to be all over the place anyway, so it works. All right. Now all I'm doing is trying to get this hot enough that I can kind of drip it into the mold. And I say drip, but really we're going for a really slow drip. I still want to be in control of it. Longer, thinner. Cool. Now, the entire purpose of this is that it has introduced these little lines that kind of push through the entire final piece. And I probably will give it a swirl here too. Let's do that. Like, it's going to be kind of interesting is you'll see through this process that I'm 100% going to melt down these lines. But the act of pushing it through that little mold right there leaves an imprint on the final piece that's just really nice. These aren't new molds. I got these from Bernard, but I don't use them very, very often. I used to use them. Trying to remember. Yeah, I use them mostly for making vortex marbles because it gives me the perfect lines. But this is for making a heart. All right. Getting a little bit of a twist in there. And hi, Twisted Sis. Hello. Oh, I definitely want to try some slumping with my kiln too, but have not done any of that. Or just like fuse work anyway, like any of that. All right. No. So, here's where we start going from what the heck blob do you have here? Oh yeah, right? The most forbidden candy. No Jolly Ranchers allowed in this area. You're going to mistake it. None of that now. All right, let's see if I can remember what slumping is. My understanding is that slumping, you use a mold in your kiln that does not get affected by the temperature, obviously, and then you just fill it up with glass. Or like if you have a bowl, think about like the bottom of this bowl being the mold, and if you flipped it upside down and you put a piece of glass on top of that and it heats up, the glass will slump down over it, and at the end you'll have a outline of the outside of your mold. That's what I believe how that works. Yeah. So I gotta actually heat this up a little bit hotter than I want to. All right, pay attention. So less of a blob and more of a heart shape. Let's start. I think it's because I'm using the orange and red glass that I'm like, oh, it's getting too orange. It must be hot. And then it's like, it's not hot. It's playing tricks. All right. All right. Now, which side should be up? That's always the question. Probably. A little tricksy, yeah. They say that the oranges and reds are a little bit easier for beginners to work with because they change color so drastically. That you can kind of gauge exactly where the temperature of the glass is. So. There we go. I'm just trying to get this tiny little bit of clear off of here. I don't need this much. Cool. Now, I do that, and then I make the decision that I'm gonna, let's see. Yeah, I think I want that to be the bottom, and if I want that to be the bottom, I think I need to put the clear down there so that I can actually shape the top. So, I'm gonna add clear back to the spot I took it off. It's fine, I'm thinking this through. Alright, so let's turn this flame down a little bit here. There we go. Okay. I don't think that's really going to hinder you much in this, to be honest. So my nephew is also red-green colorblind, but not that he's done any glass work, but I'm a little bit familiar with what that means like for a day-to-day life. But to be honest, most colors in the flame don't look like the color that they are anyway. And many, many, many colors that when you add them on top of each other, it's just a different, like it's red on red on red. And you're like, cool, I can't see it anyway. So that would be pretty much exactly the same. All right. Start making a little bit of heart shape. Right now I've got a little bit of a weird double bump going on, but enough time and patience, it'll all come together. Actually, just gonna kind of speed that up a little bit. There we go. Now, one thing to know is anytime that you use any tools, this might not be super easy to see. This side I think shows it a little bit better. There's kind of a ripple. I feel like it got darker. Whatever. There's kind of a ripple in the glass. And that's from using the cold tool on it, is it contracted. And you just want to put that back through the flame and let the glass heat up and kind of re-level itself. And glass wants to be a sphere anyway, so it does a really good job of trying to pool back together. That is... There we go. Enough time and patience and you can get a cute little heart. There we are. Pull that down. Oh, thank you. Yeah, you could preheat the tools. You absolutely could. I think that it... Now, I don't know. This is just me guessing. I've never really done it, to be honest. And I try to keep the tools out of the flame as much as possible. In my head, and now that may not be accurate, that introducing the tools to the heat over and over again might sort of cause kind of a fatigue in the metals. I'm not sure, though. Not honestly sure. Yeah, it could be that, because you're going to end up heating up the glass anyway, one way or the other. So... Because, like, one of the things that, like, I'm doing automatically, but I'm not really talking about, is making sure that I move the flame back down towards, like, the base and heating up every part of it. Because if you focus too much on one section, and really the danger isn't that it got too cold, it's that it got too cold and you reintroduce the flame too quickly. Like, it's kind of a double... It's a two-part thing. It's like taking your Pyrex dishware or dish stuff and throwing it in the oven and then adding water to it. It's gonna crack. So here I'm just adding the pendant part. Mm-hmm. Perfect. All right. This is how I like to do it. I find it easier to manipulate with the tool after I've taken it off and just sort of push it into the right place. No. All right. The next most important part of this is making sure that all of these connections are well melted together, but somehow not closing up the hole because glass likes to be a blob. So, to that end, I use this tool. I am not entirely sure what this is, but this is what I use. Alright, just want to heat up the base of this. There we go. That's nice and big now. At this point, I could be done. I'm just trying to make the bail a little bit more even, but honestly, it's not too bad. All right. Now, do I want this one? All that's left is to pull a tip on it and then take it with the marble grabbers and throw it in. I am going to throw it into annealing beads, let it cool down in that, and then I will do a batch anneal in the kiln later. All right, we're gonna try that again. Oh. Well, shoot far, Betty Wayne. I guess I get to make the bail again. Alright, not too big of a problem. Like I said, it's letting it too cold and then reintroducing it to the flame. It was the moment the flame touched it that it was like, I'm done. So close. Alright, well, focus on this bottom part real quick. Alright, much cuter. Much happier with that. Alright. It's going to definitely shrink up a little bit as it accidentally gets into the flame as I try to fix this bail. No, that's okay. This is, it's really not that big of a deal. I should probably not use this white color. It's, kind of a bit of a shockier color anyway. But it's fixable. Everything is still nice and warm. We still have a nice hold on it. We're going to be fine. We'll just take our time. Just cut off a little bit of it. Of the pieces to crack, I'm happy it's the bail. Because the rest of it's a lot harder to fix. I'm just taking my time. It's a bit ugly, but it'll get fixed. Yeah. I even have a couple of pieces that have cracks that made it through the first batch process, and I can If I'm very careful, we can heat it up in the kiln, pull it out of the kiln, put that straight into the flame, and we can fix those cracks too. So like I got a box of to be fixed, which is, one day if I feel like it, I'll give it a shot. Now you do have to be really careful, because if you don't heat it up just right, you can send the whole thing shattering, but it's doable, and I've done it a handful of times. All right, let's get this like extra chunk off of here, because you're not looking so hot. And here I'm being extra careful because I've already had it crack once. I'm just gonna make sure that there's heat through the rest of it. So step one, just gonna kind of flatten it out a little. Now I can't promise this bay will be as pretty as the first one. I don't know if I can get rid of that little bit of a ball that's going on the end of that, but we'll just try. We'll just try. That's part of it being handmade. Yeah, it's totally part of the character. I missed whatever the really long one up there at the top is. Kiln first, or can you melt it back to? As soon as I'm done with this one, I'll go back up and read it. All right. All right. We're getting somewhere with that guy. Yeah. You're gonna be just fine. All right. Before I get too cocky, let's put some heat through the rest of the piece. Let's straighten you out a little bit. Yeah. I think I'm gonna call that. Cool. So, ooh, I like those ideas. I do. All right. So, we'll see if I made this a weak enough part. I don't think I did. Yeah, okay. If you do it as a cold weld, you can kind of snap off the glass. But to be honest, I don't really care too much. All we do is we melt away the evidence. That's all we do. There was never a handle there. I don't know what you're talking about. So that's that. This is going to go in the annealing beads. beads. I don't know why I was putting the glasses back on, the things off. And yeah, so putting it in the annealing beads is to keep it, it's actually an annealing beads in a crock pot right now, and the crock pot is on high. And then when I'm done with this session, I'll turn it off, and it'll slowly cool down. Because usually you would want to anneal it in a kiln, and part of it, so yeah, it is to keep it from cooling too slowly or too quickly, because if it does that, what will happen is the outside layer of the glass will cool, the inside layer will still be warm, and there'll be the temperature differential, and that'll cause strain and cracks. And when you do it in the kiln, you can do it at a very precise, like it's stepped down just right, holds the glass right at it, and I'm not going to remember what this is called, but it's the point between where it's molten and like it's just before that, and so like the glass won't de-shape. It'll be the shape that you have it in there, but it's just below where it would start to kind of become liquid. And then that's where the tension in the glass can kind of just, it all evens out throughout the whole thing, and the whole thing cools down as one piece. Yeah. All right, well, I only planned to do this one piece. Dun-dun-dun. Let's see. I probably should go because I gotta eat, and then fantastically, I've got fireworks tonight to go see. Oh, please don't. That is 100% what this is about. I like it. I love it a lot. If I didn't want to talk to people, I could just do glass. I'm not making any money off of this stream. I'm just here to say hi. So hi. So this is like my third stream ever, I think. Like, if you don't count my tests where I was like, does this microphone sound okay? I plan on doing it weekly. Oh, that's good. Thank you. Oh, but don't hold me to that quite yet, because I also just started a new job. I'm at week 4 of my new job, and it's the first week where it's like, cool, you get to sink or swim. So I know life is pesky. So anyway, I think I'm gonna call it for today, and then yeah, I am gonna try to shoot for Friday next week. So we'll see. Yeah, sounds great. Thank you. Bye.